Good morning, second graders. We are talking about measurement in week 8. If you think back to the beginning of the year, our second module, back way early when you started second grade, we also talked about measuring, but we were talking about the metric system at that point, using centimeters. This is us using the US customary system or the imperial system. That system, our country uses inches, and basically the entire rest of the world uses the metric system or centimeters. That also goes beyond just inches and centimeters to Fahrenheit versus Celsius and things of that nature. I have this cool graphic that I love that I just want to show you. The red countries are the United States. We know Alaska is part of the United States, Liberia, and Myanmar. Now, these are the only countries that measure using inches. All of the countries in blue, every single one of them, uses the metric system. So you can see the difference between our country and basically the rest of the world. Why don't we use the metric system? I don't know. That's a great question. Do some research on that because I'd love to know. But regardless, we live here and I'm going to teach you how do we use inches. So our tool is the ruler, the same tool we used to measure in the centimeters unit. Now, I want you to take a peek at the ruler on page 3 of your packet. It is the one you're going to cut out. You'll notice one side, I've highlighted in red, are inches. Inches are much bigger than centimeters. The other side of the ruler has centimeters. So, as you'll see here, you have to be holding the ruler the correct way in order to measure in inches properly. So make sure your ruler is facing up with the inches side. You'll tell because they're much larger than a centimeter. Here we have highlighted 1 inch from end to end. And here I'll show you 1 centimeter highlighted from end to end. You will notice that the inches are much larger than the centimeters. So pay attention, make sure that you're using the inches side when you're doing your work today. All right, let's keep going. If you remember back from the beginning of the year, this is a really important concept. We measure starting at the end point. When I say end point, you say start. End point. Shout it out at home. Louder. All right. End point, start. That's exactly right. We start measuring at the end point always. If you just repeated start, awesome job. So here's my end point. That's where we start, the very edge or the zero of my ruler. So take your finger and place it on the end point of your inches side of your ruler. We will measure starting at the end point. All right. Now, let me show you how to measure. I want to tell you that I'm not going to measure and walk you through the problem set today because our tools are different sizes. So we're going to get different measurements because yours is cut out and mine's on the computer. So I thought I'd show you and model with this Post-it note that says, miss you, because we do. We miss you so, so much. So here we go. You'll need your ruler. I have mine here. And we'll only need the side starting at the 0 or the end point. So find your end point, your 0, and we'll need to line our end point up with the end point or corner of the Post-it note. So I'm going to move my ruler to line up with the edge of the Post-it note. Now mine can afford to go a teeny bit higher, but with the limitations of my computer, this is what we've got. So my endpoint lines up with the corner of the Post-it note. Move it on up there. It should be lined up beautifully, straight across, 0 to the corner. And then you measure all the way down from end to end. So I'm going down to the bottom here. And as you'll see, this Post-it note is 3 inches long. Now this Post-it note is a square. So if it's 3 inches on one side, how many inches will it be on each side? If at home you said 3 inches, you're absolutely correct. Each side will be 3 inches. We'll talk more about shapes next week. 3 inches if I measure this way, if I measure this way, if I measure this way, and as you saw, this way. Be sure you're starting at your 0, your end point, and measuring end to end. Here are the things that you are going to measure today. They gave you a pencil. I've made it a lot larger for mine, so like I told you, we'll get different measurements. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to walk you through it. They want you to measure the pencil from end to end. When you get your answer, whatever number of inches your pencil measures, they want you to draw the same size line in the box below. So, for example, let's say the pencil was 8 inches. If it's 8 inches, you're going to draw an 8-inch line in the box. You're going to move on, and you're going to do the same thing with the eraser. You're going to measure it from end to end. And for example, let's just say if this eraser was 2 inches long, you're going to draw a 2-inch line in the box below. Lastly, you're going to measure each side of this triangle. Side A from end to end, side B from end to end, and side C from end to end. You'll label how many inches each side is on those blank lines, and then you'll answer a few questions about them. That is your job today, and then you'll move on to the problem set where you will measure yet another shape. Remember, starting at the end point, that's where you measure end to end. Good luck with your measuring it today. Can't wait to see your results. Have fun.